Hey everyone, Effie here. Today I'm going to show you how to make an embossed card using our confetti balloon set. This is a 4x6-inch photopolymer set. You have one balloon image and 3 additional confetti designs that you can stamp or emboss inside that balloon. And then there are 6 sentiments in this set. There are some celebratory and birthday sentiments. And then these 3 stamps are the balloon strings and tassels. And then there's an additional little bow stamp. So let's get started. I'm going to take the balloon image and emboss it on a strip of cardstock. But before I do any stamping, I'm going to prep my cardstock with some anti-static powder. Then I'm just going to stamp my balloon stamp onto my strip of cardstock using some embossing ink. After I've stamped the balloon about 6 times, I'm going to spoon on some gold embossing powder and then hit the whole panel with my heat gun, which will melt all of that powder. Then I'm going to take the other stamps in the set, the ones that have those confetti designs that you stamp inside the balloon. I'm going to take all 3 and just stamp a couple each into each of the 6 balloons. Each of those confetti designs are slightly different. One has stars along the bottom portion of the stamp. One has some round confetti designs along the bottom portion of the stamp. And then the last design is kind of an all over fuller confetti design. Since I embossed all 3, I have a little bit more of a variation of balloons that I'll be using for my card. So for the inside of the balloons, I use some gold tinsel glitter embossing powder. It's slightly different from the regular straight up gold embossing powder that I use for the outline balloon and the tassels, which I am embossing now. I'm actually only using the 2 string designs that have the tassel images within the stamp. So then after I've embossed a bunch of these images, I'm going to die cut all of the balloons and tassel strings with the coordinating dies that are available separately. So this card that I'm making today is a card that I've made before. I made it for the Simply Cards and Papercraft Magazine. It's published in the UK and distributed worldwide. They asked me to create some cards for them, and I made some confetti balloon cards that showed up in issue, I believe, 220, and I will show you at the end of the video. The card that's in the magazine is slightly different. I use green glitter embossing powder, and then for this card I use gold glitter embossing powder because I misplaced the green one. So once I've die cut all the pieces, I'm just going to take our double pierced A2 cover plate die. This is going to create a bunch of frames in one single shot. I'm just going to use the second largest frame from these die cuts. The others I'll just put aside for a future project. Then I took our simple A2 nested dies and took the 3rd die from that collection, and I die cut a regular white cardstock panel from that die, and this is going to match up perfectly behind that frame die cut that we just created. So all of our panel dies coordinate with each other. So that's why I was able to create a panel that fit perfectly behind that border frame. Next, I took our mini dots cling stamp and I just stamped this onto a piece of A2 cardstock, and I just inked the stamp up with our noir dye ink and then stamped that right onto the panel. Next, I'm going to start assembling my balloon die cuts, and I start off by putting a small piece of dimensional foam tape behind each piece that I plan on sticking down. So what I actually do is, once I have a general idea of the placement or the layout of my card, I ended up all the balloons that you see that are touching each other or overlapping, I glued them together and then I pull apart the balloon die cuts from that rectangular panel, and then I added some of our gold holographic adhesive paper onto that smaller rectangular panel because I wanted a little bit more of a busier background, and I thought that this would contrast really nicely with the gold glitter embossing that we did for the balloons and that mini dot background that we have for that A2 panel. And the end result was, it just came together so nicely, and I'm so happy that I decided to add that holographic paper. So once I got the balloon die cuts onto that holographic background, I started adding my string and tassel strings to the panel. After trimming off all of the excess and filling in some of the emptier areas with the rest of the tassels, I was so happy with this result. Check it out. So now I just started adding some dimensional foam tape strips to the edges of my holographic panel, and then added some additional liquid adhesive to the balloons that were along the edges. And then I just adhered that border frame die cut onto the holographic panel, and then I glued this finished piece onto my mini dots A2 panel. Now we're almost done. I just need a sentiment. So what we're going to use is our many sentiments dies. Both of these dies are included in one package. This die that I'm holding and working with right now, this is going to die cut all of the word die cuts. And then the die that's on the white cardstock is going to cut out all the shadow die cuts that you can adhere all the word die cuts onto. But what's great about this collection is that it die cuts all the words and shadow die cuts in one single pass through your die cutting machine, making it very easy to mass produce sentiments. So I just use the congrats word die cut and the coordinating shadow die cut. I glued those two together, and I just pop this up onto the center of my card with some dimensional adhesive foam tape. Once I've done that, my card is complete. So I did mention earlier that this card is a variation from a card I created for the Simply Cards and Papercrafts magazine. I'm going to show you right now. So if you guys want to see me recreate any of the other cards that you see that I made in this magazine, just let me know and I will create a video for you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's process tutorial. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I try to update it regularly. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.